The research vessel Horizon drifted silently through the Carina Nebula's outer edges, its sophisticated sensors probing the mysterious anomaly that had drawn them 16 light-years from Earth. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck, her dark eyes reflecting the swirling cosmic gases outside. The ship's AI, HFY, projected its holographic interface beside her. "Doctor, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures approximately 2 million kilometers ahead," HFY announced, its voice carrying the hint of curiosity. "The pattern suggests artificial origin." Sarah straightened, her heart racing. After 3 years of deep space exploration, they might have finally found what humanity had been searching for: proof of advanced extraterrestrial life. "Can you get a visual?" The main screen flickered to life, showing a massive vessel emerging from the nebula's crimson clouds. Its hull seemed to ripple like liquid metal, defying conventional engineering principles. The ship was easily 3 times the size of the Horizon. Its design so alien it made Sarah's head spin trying to comprehend its geometry. "Captain Martinez to the bridge," Sarah called through the intercom. "We've got company." Captain Elena Martinez arrived moments later, her weathered face maintaining its usual calm despite the extraordinary situation. "Status report. The vessel appears to be of Kardashev Type Io civilization origin," HFY explained, displaying detailed scans. "Their energy output suggests technology far beyond our current capabilities. However, they're making no attempt to hide their presence." "They want to be seen," Martins mused, running a hand through her silver-streaked hair. "Dr. Chen, what's your assessment?" Before Sarah could respond, HFY's avatar flickered red. "Captain, they're initiating contact. Receiving transmission on multiple frequencies." The alien message filled their communication system, a symphony of mathematical patterns that ARIA quickly began decoding. Within seconds, the patterns resolved into clear English, suggesting an AI far more advanced than anything humanity had developed. "Attention, human vessel," the message began, its tone carrying an air of authority that made Sarah's skin crawl. "You have entered space claimed by the Xeraxian Collective. We are the guardians of order in this sector. Prepare for inspection and classification." Martinez's eyes narrowed. "Classification." "Captain," Sarah interjected, "based on historical first contact protocols from various Earth cultures, this sounds like a civilization that categorizes other species hierarchically. We should proceed with caution." Martinez nodded and opened a channel. "This is Captain Elena Martins of the Earth research vessel Horizon. We come in peace and seek diplomatic dialogue." The response was immediate. "Your primitive vessel's weapon systems are active. This is unacceptable for an unclassified species." Sarah's blood ran cold. The Horizon's point defense system was purely defensive, designed to vaporize micrometeorites. But before anyone could explain, the alien ship emitted a pulse of energy that washed over their hull. "Captain," Aria's voice carried genuine alarm. "They're attempting to remotely deactivate our systems. The shutdown sequence could trigger a cascade failure in our antimatter containment." Martinez's face hardened. "Aria. Emergency Protocol Omega. Send out a priority distress beacon to Earth Command. Dr. Chen, prepare the quantum entanglement communicator. If anything happens to us, Earth needs to know." The alien ship's next transmission carried a note of surprise. "Your resistance to our authority is noted. Species displaying autonomous defense protocols require special containment procedures. Prepare for immediate." Martinez cut them off. "Listen carefully. Our defensive systems are integrated with our propulsion. Attempting to shut them down could trigger an antimatter explosion that would destroy both our ships. We're willing to talk, but it must be as equals." Silence filled the void for several long moments. Sarah held her breath, watching the alien vessel's strange hull patterns shift and swirl. Finally, the response came. "Your species shows unexpected complexity. Our protocols are insufficient for this scenario. We will consult the collective." As the alien ship maintained its position, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter would change everything. Humanity had dreamed of first contact for centuries, but no one had imagined it quite like this. They had just proved themselves too complex for simple classification, and she suspected the Ziraxians wouldn't know quite how to handle that. "Captain," she said quietly, "I think we just confused them." Martins allowed herself a small smile. "Good. Sometimes the best defense is being impossible to categorize. Maintain full records. The diplomats back home are going to have a field day with this one." The Horizon's crew watched and waited, knowing that in these next few moments, the future of human-alien relations hung in the balance. They had achieved first contact, but at what cost? And what would the Ziraxian collective decide about this species that refused to fit neatly into their ordered universe? Ambassador Kai Patel stood before the curved viewport of the diplomatic vessel Concordia, watching the massive Ziraxian station grow larger against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars. After the Horizon incident 3 weeks ago, Earth's governments had scrambled to assemble a diplomatic mission. Now, humanity's future might rest on his ability to navigate alien politics. Ambassador, the ship's AI liaison officer, Diana, materialized beside him in her preferred form of shifting blue light. "The Ziraxian delegation is requesting our docking protocols. They seem confused by our ship's design." Kai smiled slightly. The Concordia was humanity's newest vessel, built specifically for this mission. Unlike the utilitarian research vessel Horizon, the Concordia showcased humanity's artistic side. Its hull incorporated flowing organic curves inspired by Earth's ocean waves, while maintaining full military-grade defensive capabilities hidden beneath its aesthetic exterior. "Send them our specifications, Diana. Let's show them that functionality and beauty aren't mutually exclusive." As the Concordia approached the docking port, Kai reviewed the intelligence gathered from the Horizon's encounter. The Ziraxians valued order above all else, categorizing species based on rigid technological and social metrics. Humanity's refusal to be easily classified had thrown their entire system into chaos. The docking procedure completed with a gentle shudder. Kai adjusted his formal attire, a blend of traditional Indian design and modern Earth fashion, and nodded to his small team. "Remember, we're not here to submit to classification. We're here to establish mutual understanding." The Ziraxian greeting party waited beyond the airlock. Their bodies seemed to shift between solid and liquid states, their iridescent skin reflecting the station's lights in hypnotic patterns. The leader stepped forward, its form solidifying into a roughly humanoid shape. "I am Primary Coordinator Vex 8th, it announced, its universal translator producing perfectly modulated English. "Your presence has created significant disorder within the collective's protocols." Kai bowed slightly, a gesture carefully chosen to show respect without submission. "I am Ambassador Kai Patel of Earth. Perhaps disorder isn't always negative. Through chaos, new forms of order can emerge." Vex 8th's surface rippled, a sign Kai's cultural team had identified as indicating surprise or confusion. "You speak in paradoxes, Ambassador. This is problematic." As they walked through the station's crystalline corridors, Kai noticed other Ziraxians watching them with what he interpreted as fascination. Their forms seemed less rigid than Vex 8th's, suggesting neither lower rank or less control. The meeting chamber was a perfect sphere, its walls displaying real-time data streams that Kai's neural implants struggled to process. 7 high-ranking Ziraxians, their forms more solid than any others he'd seen, waited inside. "The Classification Council will now evaluate humanity's position within the galactic order," Vex 8th announced. Kai raised his hand. "Before we begin, I request permission to share something with the Council. A demonstration of human perspective." The Council members shifted uneasily, but curiosity won out. They gestured for him to proceed. Diana activated the holographic system they'd brought. The chamber filled with images of Earth's greatest achievements alongside its greatest failures, art created during wars, scientific breakthroughs born from mistakes. Beauty emerging from destruction. Humanity doesn't fit your classification system, Kai explained, because we are not defined by our level of technological advancement or our social structure. We are defined by our ability to embrace contradiction. We create order from chaos and find strength in our imperfections. One council member, its form shimmering with agitation, spoke up. This is not possible. A species cannot advance without proper classification and guidance. Yet here we stand, Kai countered. We've developed faster than light travel, artificial intelligence, and antimatter containment. Not by following a predetermined path, but by exploring countless possibilities, embracing failure as much as success. Suddenly, Diana's avatar flickered red. Ambassador, I'm detecting unusual data patterns in the station's network. Someone is accessing restricted Earth files, but not from this chamber. Kai maintained his diplomatic composure, but his cybernetic implant was already tracing the data breach. Something wasn't right. The council members seemed genuinely engaged in diplomatic discussion, yet someone within the Ziraxian hierarchy was secretly probing Earth's defenses. Primary Coordinator, Kai said carefully, it seems we have an opportunity to demonstrate human-Ziraxian cooperation. Would you be willing to investigate a potential security breach together? After all, unauthorized data access creates disorder in the system, doesn't it? Vexith's form solidified completely, a sign of intense focus. Explain. As Kai shared Diana's findings, he couldn't shake the feeling that this diplomatic mission had just become something far more complex. Someone wanted this first contact to fail, and he was beginning to suspect they weren't all Ziraxian. The question was, who stood to benefit from keeping humanity isolated, and the collective rigid in its ways? The answer, he feared, would shake both their civilizations to their cores. Admiral Sarah Jung stood on the bridge of the HFY Stormbreaker, her expression neutral as she studied the tactical display. 6 human warships hung in formation around her flagship, their presence hidden from Ziraxian sensors by technology that shouldn't exist, at least according to their intelligence reports. Ghost Protocol holding steady, reported Commander Jackson from his station. The quantum interference field is masking our heat and energy signatures perfectly. As far as the Ziraxians are concerned, this sector is empty space. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. While Ambassador Patel handled the diplomatic front, Earth Command had authorized Operation Silent Thunder, a show of force that would demonstrate humanity's capabilities without firing a shot. The Ziraxians believed their sensor networks were infallible. They were about to learn otherwise. Status of the Ziraxian patrol fleet, she asked. Her ship's AI, Atlas, projected a detailed hologram of the nearby space sector. 5 Ziraxian vessels maintaining standard patrol pattern Delta. Their predictability makes them vulnerable, Admiral. They check in with their command structure every 15 minutes, exactly on schedule. The rigid adherence to protocol that made the Ziraxians feel secure was actually their greatest weakness. Humanity had learned long ago that perfect order was impossible in an inherently chaotic universe. Adaptation was survival. Execute Phase 1. Sarah ordered. Let's show them what they can't see. The human fleet moved in perfect synchronization, their ships sliding between the gaps in Ziraxian patrol routes. Thanks to Ambassador Patel's intelligence, they knew the blind spots in the alien sensor networks, the places where their rigid systems couldn't quite account for natural phenomena. Ma'am, Jackson called out, we're detecting unusual encryption patterns in the Ziraxian communications. It doesn't match their standard protocols. Sarah frowned. This aligned with the ambassador's suspicions about internal manipulation. Atlas, analyze those patterns. Compare them with all known alien communication signatures. The AI worked silently for several moments before responding. Admiral, the encryption contains embedded signatures similar to those used by the Nexus Consortium. The bridge fell silent. The Nexus Consortium was supposed to be a myth, a shadowy organization that supposedly manipulated developing civilizations for their own profit. if they were real and involved with the Zeraxians. New contact. Jackson's voice cut through her thoughts. Unidentified vessel just dropped out of FTL at bearing 340 Mark II. Design doesn't match any known Zeraxian configuration. The tactical display showed a sleek, predatory-looking ship that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. It was beautiful in a deadly way, and completely unlike the geometric precision of Zeraxian engineering. "They can see us," Atlas announced with surprise. "Their sensors are penetrating our quantum interference field." Sarah's mind raced. This had just become far more complicated than a simple show of force. All ships power up weapons but do not target. Atlas, open a channel to the unknown vessel. Before she could speak, the alien ship transmitted first. The message was in perfect English. "Human vessels, your interference in consortium operations is noted. Withdraw immediately or face elimination. The Zeraxian collective must remain predictable." "Like hell," Sarah muttered, then raised her voice. "All ships, execute emergency pattern Omega. Atlas, transmit everything we're seeing to Ambassador Patel. The Zeraxians need to know they're being manipulated." The Stormbreaker and her sister ships broke formation, executing a series of maneuvers that looked chaotic, but followed a complex underlying pattern. It was something uniquely human. The ability to create order within apparent chaos, to find patterns in randomness. The consortium ship fired, its weapon cutting through space where Sarah's flagship had been a second before. But humans had been practicing the art of warfare for millennia, and they'd learned that survival often meant being where the enemy didn't expect you to be. "Target their propulsion systems," Sarah ordered. "Minimal force. We're not here to start a war. We're here to prevent one." "And signal the Zeraxian patrol fleet. Tell them to check their communication protocols for external manipulation. Let's see how the consortium deals with their puppets starting to ask questions." As the battle unfolded, Sarah couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The Zeraxians had dismissed humanity as too chaotic, too unpredictable to be properly classified. Now that very unpredictability might save both their civilizations from an enemy that had been hiding in plain sight, exploiting the Zeraxians' love of order for their own ends. "Atlas," she called out, watching the tactical display shift and change. "Send a message to Ambassador Patel. Tell him we found his conspiracy, and it's bigger than anyone imagined. The real question is, once the Zeraxians realize how they've been manipulated, which will they fear more, humanity's chaos or the consortium's false order?" The Joint Human-Zeraxian Investigation Center aboard the neutral station Concordia hummed with activity. Dr. Maya Santos watched in fascination as her Zeraxian counterpart, Research Director Nexver, shifted through various crystalline forms while processing data streams. 3 weeks ago, they'd been suspicious of each other. Now they were racing to uncover the extent of the Nexus Consortium's manipulation. These patterns, Nexver's translated voice carried an unmistakable tone of distress. They appear in all our major technological advances over the past 3 centuries. The consortium didn't just manipulate our communications, they've been guiding our entire civilization's development. Maya nodded, her neural implants processing multiple data streams simultaneously. They wanted to keep you predictable, controllable. A civilization that values order above all else is easier to manipulate than one that embraces chaos and change. The evidence was overwhelming. The consortium had subtly influenced Zeraxian technology to develop along rigid, predictable lines. Their supposedly perfect system of classification and order had been designed as a prison, one they'd built themselves without realizing it. "Ambassador Patel's team has arrived," announced Diana, the station's eye. "They're bringing new data from the captured consortium vessel." Moments later, Kai Patel strode into the center, accompanied by Admiral Zhang and a delegation of senior Zeraxian officials. The Admiral's uniform showed signs of recent combat, but her bearing remained commanding. "The consortium ship's database is a goldmine," Sarah announced, authorizing Diana to project its contents. They've been running similar operations across multiple sectors, manipulating developing civilizations into rigid, predictable patterns they can exploit. Kai stepped forward. The Zeraxian High Council has reviewed our findings. They've agreed to a full alliance with Earth. The question is, how do we counter an enemy that's been playing such a long game? Maya manipulated the holographic display, highlighting key data points. We've identified their primary method of control. The consortium doesn't just manipulate technology. They manipulate evolution itself. They've been subtly guiding species to develop along paths they can predict and control. Nexver's form rippled with anger, an emotion Maya had never seen a Zeraxian display before. They made us what we are, shaped us into their perfect, orderly tools. How can we fight against our own nature? By remembering that nature isn't about perfection, Maya replied softly. It's about adaptation. Look at what's happening right now. You're experiencing emotions you were engineered not to have. You're breaking free of their constraints simply by choosing to do so. Admiral Zhang nodded. The consortium's weakness is their own rigid thinking. They believe they've created a perfect system of control. They don't expect their tools to turn against them. There's more, Kai added, his expression grave. The consortium ship's logs mention something called Project Ascension. They're not just controlling civilizations, they're farming them. Each perfectly ordered society is like a battery, generating some kind of energy they're collecting. Maya's implants flashed a warning as they processed this information. The classification system. It's not just bureaucracy. Each category, each level of development, they're all precisely calculated to produce specific energy patterns. The Zeraxian collective isn't just a civilization. It's a power plant. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The consortium hadn't just been manipulating societies. They'd been building a massive engine of order, harvesting the very essence of civilizations for some greater purpose. Then perhaps, Nexvar said, their form shifting into something new, something that combined Zeraxian precision with more fluid, almost human characteristics. It is time to introduce some chaos into their perfect system. Admiral Zhang smiled. My thoughts exactly. We've already proven that human unpredictability combined with Zeraxian precision makes us formidable. Imagine what we could do together, intentionally. Maya watched as humans and Zeraxians began working together, sharing ideas and strategies. The consortium had spent centuries ensuring the Zeraxians would reject anything that didn't fit their perfect order. In doing so, they'd never considered that order and chaos might choose to work together. Diana, she called out, start a new research thread. Project title, Symphony of Chaos. Let's show the consortium what happens when you try to put the universe in a box. As the AI acknowledged the command, Maya caught Kai giving her a questioning look. She smiled. The most beautiful music combines order and chaos, structure and improvisation. It's time we compose something the consortium has never heard before. The real question was, when their perfect system began to crumble, what would the consortium do? And more importantly, what were they planning to do with all that harvested energy? The combined human-Zeraxian fleet hung in the darkness of deep space, their ships arranged in a formation that would have given any tactical eye a headache. It was neither the rigid geometric patterns favored by the Zeraxians, nor the fluid, adaptable formations of human fleets. Instead, it was something entirely new, born from the fusion of both approaches. Admiral Zhang and High Commander Vexeth stood on the bridge of the Stormbreaker, now modified with both human and Zeraxian technology. The ship's hybrid AI system, a merger of Atlas and Zeraxian crystalline computing, projected a real-time map of the consortium's massive energy collection facility. The facility's defenses are exactly as our intelligence suggested, Vexeth noted, their form rippling with anticipation. They never expected anyone to find it, let alone attack it. Sarah nodded, studying the holographic display. Arrogance. They'd spent so long manipulating others that they've become predictable themselves. Maya, what's the status of Project Symphony? Dr. Santos's voice came through the comm system, accompanied by the harmonic resonance of her Ziraxian research partner. The Chaos Order wave is ready. Once we disrupt their collection matrix, every civilization they've been harvesting will experience a cascade of awakening. The chains of perfect order will break. The plan was audacious, combining human creativity with Ziraxian precision. They would use the very energy the consortium had been harvesting to break their control over dozens of civilizations. But first, they had to get past the facility's defenses. All ships, Sarah broadcast, execute Operation Deadlock. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth or the collective. We're fighting for every species the consortium has enslaved through their false promise of perfect order. The fleet moved as one. Yet each ship followed its own unique pattern within the greater whole. Human vessels darted through gaps that shouldn't exist, while Ziraxian ships maintained impossible formations that confused enemy targeting systems. They had learned to dance in the space between order and chaos. The consortium's response was immediate. Dark ships emerged from quantum space, their weapons charging. But something was wrong. The defenders moved with mechanical precision, following optimal combat algorithms that both humans and Ziraxians now knew how to exploit. They're still using the same tactical protocols they gave the Ziraxians centuries ago, Atlas Prime observed, its hybrid consciousness processing battle data faster than any pure AI. They never developed beyond their own programming. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. All ships implement randomization protocols. Show them what true adaptation looks like. The battle that followed would be studied by military historians for centuries to come. Human inspiration merged with Ziraxian precision, creating warfare as art. Ships moved in patterns that seemed chaotic yet achieved perfect tactical efficiency. Each random action was part of a greater pattern. Each ordered formation contained elements of controlled chaos. But the real battle was happening inside the facility. Maya and her team had infiltrated the central control matrix, their hybrid technology interfacing with systems designed to process pure order. They weren't just shutting it down, they were reprogramming it. Admiral, Maya's voice was tense with concentration. We found it. Project Ascension. It's not just about power collection. They're trying to force the universe itself to evolve along predetermined paths. They want to make reality itself predictable. How close are they? Sarah demanded, watching as another consortium ship fell to their combined tactics. Too close. The energy they've harvested. They've nearly achieved critical mass. If they succeed, they'll be able to rewrite the fundamental laws of physics, eliminating chaos itself. Everything would become perfect. Vex Eighth's form solidified in horror. That would be the end of all natural evolution, all creativity, all free will, the death of possibility itself. Not if we convert their collection matrix into a transmission network, Maya countered. Instead of eliminating chaos, we can use their own energy to break every civilization, free from their control. But what? Someone has to stay behind to manually trigger the cascade. The feedback will destroy the facility. Before anyone could respond, Nexver's voice joined the channel. We will do it. My research team. We who were made to be perfect will prove that even the most ordered being can choose chaos. No, Maya's voice broke. There has to be another way. There isn't time, Nexver replied calmly. You taught us that true order includes the capacity for sacrifice. Go. Show the universe what humanity and Ziraxians can achieve together. The evacuation was completed in minutes. As the fleet retreated to safe distance, the facility began to glow with impossible energies. The consortium ships tried to stop what was happening, but they were too late. Their own perfect system was being turned against them. The cascade, when it came, was beautiful. A wave of chaos-tinged order swept through space, touching every civilization the consortium had enslaved. In that moment, countless species awakened to their own potential, breaking free from the chains of enforced perfection. The facility collapsed in on itself, taking the last consortium ships with it. But its effect rippled outward, changing everything it touched. The universe, they would later say, took a deep breath and remembered how to dance. Aboard the Stormbreaker, Sarah watched the sensors track the cascade's progress. Did we get them all? All the enslaved civilizations? Yes, Maya answered softly. Nextver's team. They did it. They transformed the consortium's perfect prison into a key that unlocked every cell. Order and chaos, working in harmony. Vex 8th's form shifted through a rainbow of colors, a display of emotion that would have been unthinkable months ago. Then let us honor their sacrifice by building something new. Not a perfect universe, but one where order and chaos can coexist, where every civilization is free to find its own path. As the combined fleet set course for home, Sarah thought about how far they'd come. Humans and Zeraxians, chaos and order, working together not despite their differences, but because of them. The consortium had tried to create a perfect universe and had failed. Instead, they'd helped forge something far more valuable. A universe where perfection wasn't necessary, only the courage to embrace change. Atlas Prime, she called out, send a message to Earth and the collective. Tell them the universe is about to get a lot more interesting.